Kevin has an interesting question. I'm in between multiple wrist surgeries and wondering what type of workouts you would recommend, and any advice for the emotional aspect of being in recovery. My injury was on the job and I haven't worked since August 2019. There's a couple things here. Well, first off, this wrist, two major surgeries, just lots of damage there. And this is when I picked up an interesting thing. I think it's 2001, 2002, something like that. But we would do the 100 rep challenge, and that's when you buy the folks. If you don't know, it's when you take a single lift and you do it 100 times, not 100 reps, but 100 singles. So I think the first time I did it with a squat snatch, and I did it with 165, which was tough. I've done it with the clean and jerk with like 165, the power clean with 185. But one time I did it with the front squat with 255 with my arm in a cast, and I front squatted like this. So Kevin, if it's just one wrist, I would suggest, as much as you can do it, squat, 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 because squatting, I front squatted, but you could probably work on a back squat variation. The reason I say that is when you're doing that workout and all those hormones are kicking out, the free fatty acids and the amino acids, they're not just swimming to your glutes and your quads. They're going through the whole system. So it's going to send a lot of good stuff into that region. And then I worked really hard on my off side, my non-cast side, as much as I possibly could. Dr. Vanderhoof told me he's never had a patient recover quicker from this kind of surgery in his whole career. And he said, "What did you do?" And I said, "Well, two things. One, I did your advice and I did these exercises you told me to do, hours at a time. And I worked out." And he said, "Yeah, in other words, you did what I told you to do?" And I said, "Yeah." So number one, I would say do what lift where you can, go walk if you can, do whatever you can, do it. And by the way, that's going to help with the part two question on the emotional side. All I can say is, Kevin, I'm walking with you on this one. The emotional hit for me, my wife went on the road the Monday after when I was still in the original, so the pre-surgery cast. So I broke it in the weightlifting meet and had a cast. And then I had a surgery, I had a cast. And then later I had another surgery to remove all the metal, which was a lot. But I'd already healed. I had healed to the point that the body was kicking the screws out. That was so gross. I just remember getting up, putting clothes on took so long. And then I couldn't tie my own shoes, so I don't know, Kelly might have been in the 5th or 6th grade, and I had to go, "Kelly, will you tie my shoes?" And I was just so brokenhearted. I mean, it was just brokenhearted. I mean, and that was day one. And, obviously I still, I bought a bunch of shoes that I don't have laces, they're called loafers or something like that. And it's tough. I mean, I know it's tough. Fortunately, at the time I was an administrator, so there were impacts, and my communications on emails and stuff like that was impacted, but I called a lot more people on the phone, and I drove around a lot more, and actually I became a better administrator because of that. The emotional side, I just got to tell you, Kevin, it's tough, and there's not always a good answer for it. And that's why I meant that when I said I'm walking with you on this. I'd love to be able to throw some fairy dust your way and make it all better, but I can't. So hang in there, and if you need professional help on that, please seek it. Thank you.